Sup. The opinions and views expressed in this podcast are that of our own and Future Bachelor only, and not affiliated with any outside party or entity. This fun podcast may include some adult language.
Future Bachelor Podcast.
Yeah, welcome to Future Bachelor. My name is Sai.
I'm Veronica.
And this is episode 98. Yeah!
Oh my god.
It's it, 98.
I'm like freaking out. Low key.
Yeah. We're getting close to that 100, and I had to start off with that jam. I don't know why, but that's actually one of my favorite Bruno Mars songs.
I love Bruno Mars.
The beat is so good, and I just think the writing in it is like really cool.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's like the whole concept of gorilla and turning that into like sex is like crazy. Well,
because it's like different, like usually
like banging
it's
on my chest, and like even like the ooh, it sounds like some monkeys would be like ooh, so.
Yeah, I just think I love like Bruno Mars is always someone who's always like bridged this like masculinity and femininity thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like still like does like kind of like sappy stuff, but also like it's like kind of masculine with it. I don't know. I've always enjoyed that about his music.
I bet you did. What's going on, V? How's everything going now that we're all warmed up?
Oh my god. I'm good. I had a busy last like weekend, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I did happy hour and then a Friday lunch with some of our friends from the company that work in a different part of the company than we do.
Okay.
And then I did end up watching the Taylor Swift documentary. And
was it good?
It was interesting. It definitely parts of it showed me stuff that I didn't super know about her. Like how she struggled with an eating disorder, which I could have guessed, but like interesting to know, and just like other things that she struggled with, but then a lot of it like also made me annoyed of her. And then like
really?
There's different parts.
For example,
there's just like different parts where she definitely was like leaning into the victim thing, and it just was like, okay, like it seems like some of it was obviously played up.
mm-hmm.
But seeing her like with her current boyfriend Joe and like how cute they were, that was like super sweet. And it was interesting to see some of like the behind the scenes of like what went into making Reputation, and then after that what went into making Lover and things like that. So that
almost forgettable album.
Yeah, both of those. But it was interesting. And then Saturday I bounced around from everywhere. I went to brunch with dance friends. I went to the beer fest with some of the boys, like Sims. Shout out to Sims. And
was it raining?
Not when I got there.
Oh.
And then my friends Maggie and Alexa, and then we went from that, got some dinner, and then Maggie and Alexa went home, and then I went out and met up with my dance friends that I'd gotten brunch with earlier, and we ended the night at Loca Luna dancing, doing some bachata. Yeah, I don't know how I survived like a full day of that.
Well, you had to get it back together because Super Bowl was on Sunday.
Because Super Bowl was the next day. All I did on Sunday was like fold some clothes, get my nails done, and then like walk over to our friends Melissa and Caleb's to eat some.
That's actually a lot more than I would ever get done on a Sunday, even without Super Bowl. So
yeah, and then I ate a lot of Kansas City barbecue because they had it shipped in, which was delicious.
Well, I went to that wedding this weekend.
Yeah, it looked fun.
It was really fun. Got to see a lot of family. It was one of the most fun weddings I've been to. And maybe
I feel like you guys have like a good
weddings.
Family for family weddings.
Yeah. I mean, it was like the perfect like people there, like to have just a good time. It was interesting too because it was on Super Bowl, so like the wedding was earlier on in the day, like it started at 1. And so it was pretty much over by 6, and then we just went to the hotel bar and watched the Super Bowl and drank around the hotel.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it was actually a great day.
It's like after the party is the hotel lobby.
Exactly.
To watch football game.
Well, I mean, like, it's pretty cool if you don't have work the next day. But, other people probably had to go to work and stuff. I had a hotel, so I was on vacation. So it was really dope.
Nice.
But that Super Bowl, I definitely got super hype when the halftime show came up. Like,
yeah.
I guess we'll get into it.
After we catch a plane?
I don't know. This one, I caught a plane back to quick hits.
Yeah, so the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The Chiefs won, which I was happy about.
That's crazy because I didn't even know who won.
And it was actually a very good game. But anyways,
it went by so fast for me.
The halftime show.
I was like, wow.
We were stressed. Okay, we were stressed out, like, because I was with two humongous KC fans, and like I'm a Midwesterner, so like I was supporting Kansas City. But we were like the whole like group of us watching, we were like stressed, and like we had like a over under for how many times Melissa would cry because she was just so emotional with everything. God.
Okay.
But anyways,
it was a drinking game made out of it.
The halftime show was great.
Okay.
In my humble opinion, I enjoyed it. I didn't even see this until later, because I guess my feed is usually not filled with these kinds of people, but like people who were saying stuff about how it was like too sexual for family audiences. I was like, what? Like,
yeah, I mean,
that blew my mind.
After you're watching like a bunch of guys just like hit each other and stuff on a field.
And also like Adam Levine took off his shirt last year.
Yeah.
And also like, what?
But I mean, like, you shouldn't even have to compare that. Like, for me, I was definitely lit. And when I saw it, I had a glow stick in my hand, like one of those rave glow sticks. I was like, let's get loud. I was going crazy in the hotel bar, and probably a little bit too crazy, but it was
weird.
lit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was with a bunch of like Hispanics. Like, it was like, a proud moment and stuff. Like,
I was about to say, I'm like, you're half Latino. I'm like an inch Latina.
But yeah, it was just cool to see. And I was like, if you caught me, if they say like your true emotions come out when you're drunk, I definitely enjoyed it. Like, you know what I'm saying, the whole time.
Isn't Shakira is mostly Colombian.
She's Colombian, and yeah, and so like
look at that.
She's huge for, you know, our community and stuff. So like we grew up like, you know, during the eras like that she went through, like, you know, she came back like with that whole like Hips Don't Lie stuff. Like, that's really just like her American crossover.
Yeah,
like, you know, she's been huge in, you know, in Colombia and all Spanish countries and stuff. So so yeah, I mean, it was really cool to see, and I think, you know, I didn't have a problem with anything. I mean, yeah, there was like, you know, stripper stuff going on, and
but it was all like, it wasn't like they were like pulling their clothes
on brand
off.
Though. She just had a movie, of course. Like, you know, this is a great way to like maybe get her movie back out there when it comes out on DVD. People can watch it and stuff.
And it's also kind of like a thumb to the nose to like the Oscars for the snub. And
yo, wasn't Jay-Z in charge of like the entertainment and stuff?
Jay-Z had help. Yes, he got to oversee some of it because of like his collaboration with the NFL with like, I forget what it's called, something Rock Nation something where it's to like the NFL is like partnering up like with an organization to, you know,
diversify a little bit more.
And work against the like highlight of it was innocent deaths of black folks by police. So like so there's a lot of interesting things about how Jay-Z had like, you know, some like overseeing of the performance, because some people were saying that like, yes, Jennifer Lopez and Shakira are great for the Latinx community, but they're like white Latinas, and a lot of like the stuff people were saying were like, okay, the African Americans haven't been treated like super well by the NFL. Colin Kaepernick, we know that whole shebang, and like that's why people like Cardi B and other people have refused to perform. But people are trying to say like, okay, their performance mentions different Afro-Latina-X like elements and things like that, even like certain songs that are by Afro-Latinx artists, and people are like, okay, should they have like, instead of like taking this platform and whatever and using it themselves because like they're white passing and people get okay with it, should they have been more conscious of like making black artists work with them, whatever? It's like that gets like very
holy cow. I do not care about any of that shit actually. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I see all the shit. Like, I feel like my feeds are filled with
I
honestly
all the stuff.
like, that's ridiculous. Like, they're gonna switch it up every year with something different. Like, it's not like they're gonna. I think it was awesome. They had like Bad Bunny and J Balvin come out and stuff. So you know, it was a cool better than, I think, Maroon 5, like that. I think for sure.
And there's definitely some political statements using J-Lo's daughter, who's very talented, good for her, and like some of those young kids being in cages, like in the whole like Puerto Rican flag with the American flag on the back, and then Shakira's little Zakuruta, which was that the tongue flickering thing that's been made a meme. That was actually like a Lebanese chant thing that she was doing. So there's a lot of culture happening, that like cultural Easter eggs.
I
for
didn't
people.
expect anything less. So I mean, I
loved it.
To me, I didn't see any hate. I just saw talk about the hate, like, which was weird. Like
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I didn't see anything until I saw people commenting on the hate, like later on, which was what I found interesting.
That's a weird wave, like to not like catch like people talking shit, but to hear people talking shit about the people talking shit, you're like, what? When did people even start talking shit? Are we just saying people are saying things now?
It's like, it was like, yeah, I didn't catch stuff until it was like commentary on stuff, and I was like, okay. And then commercial wise, I remember some of them, but the one that I remember the most is the Google one, the Loretta Google one, where the old man is asking his Google to remember things about his deceased wife, and I cried like a little baby. We were like, both Melissa and I looked at each other, we're like, what the fuck?
Yo, that's not like cool. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, that's kind of creepy.
That's
actually.
emotional manipulation.
Yo, that's kind of creepy.
Damn it, Google.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if I saw a lot of commercials.
Or remembered.
No. I definitely wasn't looking at the commercials at all. Like,
yeah.
But
I mean,
what were the popular
they
ones? I saw like the Bill Murray one for Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, but like that's, I mean, when don't they do something like that? And then they had one where it was
I saw they dropped like the new Fast and Furious trailer.
Yes. They had like a meta one where it was like 4 Tide Pods, and it like kept like weaving it into other commercials, like for Bud Light or for other things.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Which was interesting. Or they even like weaved it into like the like going back to the like the actual game where they have like, you know, like ESPN, blah blah blah, or Fox, whatever. And they, which was interesting. I wonder how much money they had to pay for that.
Yeah.
They did
Tide Pods.
Yeah.
Jeez, like what the hell?
I see, but that's my thing is like I actually
Tide Pods?
I don't know if that was like if it was really just for Tide. I don't know. Whatever. I can't. That's some of these just I feel like were too much. They were just like throwing as many things at us as possible. Like the Sabra ad for like hummus, they just had a whole collection of different celebrities. They had,
I saw that one.
Like housewives, they had rappers, they had whatever, they had drag queens. I feel like a lot of them were just like so much that I'm like, I don't know.
Well, what else we got?
All right, so not only was this weekend Super Bowl Sunday, it was Stormy Webster's, Kylie's cute little daughter's 2nd birthday. And I feel like if I was Stormy, I would end up going to a therapist when I was older, because my birthday parties consist of giant theme parks where I walk through an inflatable version of my head to a slide that has a giant version of my head at the top.
Jeez.
To a mascot that is somebody, a grown human walking around with a giant mask of my head.
That's crazy, because like I honestly could see that doing like psychological damage to a kid. I mean, maybe not, but like that is kind of creepy. Like.
It's bizarre. And of course, like this thing was like it had multiple worlds. Like it had Stormy World, which is like kind of based on like the Astro World, and it had that was where all her heads were. It had it had Trolls World, which like she's a big fan of trolls. So they had all the trolls characters and stuff like that. And I think it had one more world, but like.
Yeah.
And you even just saw, like, even Cardi B, like, posted a video of her and Culture. They're being all like, Culture's making rich friends now. Thanks, Kylie, for inviting us.
That's what's up.
I was like, damn.
Well, yo, what's this Billie Eilish stuff?
Okay, so Billie Eilish went on her Instagram stories this past week to kind of call out people who are doing this stunt. You know, in the age of like YouTube and TikTok and whatever, like there's always like different challenges or stunts that people are doing. And right now, something that's popular is like usually girls dressing up like Billie Eilish, like, you know, either doing wig or just temporary dye or whatever, doing the hair, doing the big clothes, sunglasses, kind of like walking with their head down, surrounded by people dressed up as bodyguards. And like, so they'll do this and like they'll go into malls or, you know, other public places. So then they kind of like get mobbed or they create a whole scene and like it's a whole thing. And Billie is like, okay, first of all, you guys got me looking like trash out here with like these fake outfits of mine. And then second of all, like, this isn't safe for you or others. And like, also it's just not very nice to be doing this and tricking people who don't know any better. So she was not pleased.
Whatever. Like, you want to dress like a costume character, or people going to dress in your costume. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, and definitely is an age where it's going to happen. I mean, I guess she has to put out a blanket statement. Yo, don't do that. You're going to get hurt or something. But, I mean, people have been doing that. People impersonate people all the time.
I know, but I feel like because, like, she is such a popular, I mean, like, she had to say something. She's such a popular artist for, like, especially young people. Like, she's so big right now that, like, that isn't, like, I don't know. I definitely see why she'd be upset because.
Yeah. I mean, it's too easy, I feel like, to do that. So,
yeah.
What else we got?
Dunkaroos. Do you know this snack?
Of course I know Dunkaroos.
Dunkaroos are coming back.
What?
Yes.
Of course they are.
Yes, they like released a whole. They like are on Instagram. They released a whole little trailer, being all like, "90s whatever might come back. 90s this might come back. Like 90s fashion." I'm like, yeah, it already has.
I used to love the cheese sticks.
Oh, I love
chicks and the sticks with the cheese.
Or the pretzels too.
Ooh, with the peanut butter.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, like Dunkaroos.
And then Dunkaroos was,
you know, it stuck around though. Gushers stuck around for a long
Gushers.
time.
General Mills is doing well with Gushers. I love Gushers.
Yeah. As an adult, like I've actually had to tell myself, like, I think I might be too old for Gushers.
No.
But they're so good.
Gushers don't have an age.
You might not be too old. I might be too old. I might have to like retire Gushers in my like.
Retire, like you hang them from the rafters.
Yeah, like it's like Gushers. You hang them from the rafters. No, because if I hung them, I would eat them. You know what I'm saying? So.
But yeah, no. So Dunkaroos are coming back. They're definitely leaning into this whole thing. How, like, you know, 90s kids, 90s culture is like super big right now.
Yeah.
How appropriate that we're in the 90s of our episodes.
Right.
But yeah,
I can't wait. That's delicious. Another snack I'll have to try once and then retire. Oh, yo, so.
But it's aimed at people your age and my age. Like, it's aimed at us.
I know. And then we're gonna get the Sugarfoot. We're gonna get diabetes.
Did you just say Sugarfoot?
Amputate the foot. You know what I'm saying? Oh my god. Halsey yelled at a fan that kept screaming Cheesy's name during the pre-Super Bowl.
Okay, yeah. So there's
Cheesy.
Literally. So
Cheesy.
Literally that's what happened. In Miami, like before, like, you know, the couple of days or week or whatever leading up to the Super Bowl, you know, all these different artists and stuff are in town doing performances or club performances and things like that. And so she was doing a club performance. And
I'm sorry, I just looked up. Is Sugarfoot bad to say? Sorry, I didn't see it in the top searches, so we're good.
Okay, God.
Might be the title.
But so as she's like, you know, doing like her, like in between song transitions, some guy like right up against the stage, it sounded like a dude, kept being like, Jeezy, yeah, G, like literally, and she's like, you want to say like effing Jeezy's name one more time? Who is it? And of course, whoever was around him like ratted him out.
They always rat him out.
Like, she's like, do you want to get thrown out of the club? I can make sure you get thrown out of the club. Like, you don't need to keep yelling his name while I'm talking. That's just disrespectful. I'll make sure you get thrown out of this club.
Yeah, someone was wasted. That sounds like a drunk person, but that's hilarious. What else?
Lady Gaga might have leaked a new song with a tweet, but supposedly it's going to be titled Stupid Love, but
well, speaking of new music, I think Justin Bieber is going to drop an album on Valentine's Day next Friday.
I believe it. Yeah,
and
he is, because he had promoted like a couple different dates, and Valentine's Day was the last date.
Yeah, and I think I forgot what it's called, but he has Little Dicky like on his single.
Really?
Well, Little Dicky's about to come out with that show, Dave.
Yes.
It's crazy. A lot of things happening right now, and I feel like Justin Bieber is definitely reaching. But
of course he is. Though that song with him and Kalani is really good.
I mean it's good, but it's not like
it's better than Yummy.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I just like anything with Kalani, I'll be honest. She's the reason.
It's called Changes, I think. That's the name of his album.
Yes.
But yeah, so what made you go yikes this week Veronica.
Okay, speaking of G-Eazy, that's
Jeezy, yeah, Jeezy.
shut up. That slimy mother effer.
Mm-hmm.
There's this video that was released of him like all curled up around Megan Thee Stallion.
Oh no.
Like sucking on her contour, like just like sucking, hissing on her cheek. And so people like Black Twitter erupted. They're like, G-Eazy's gonna be out here pulling this like on like the third day of Black History Month.
I saw that.
Like, so people are freaking out. Megan hasn't like really like said anything about it.
Have you ever seen The New Guy?
Um,
It's really old, like stupid movie, but
I feel like I've heard of it.
it's special to me for no good reason. But
Okay.
it's just like whatever. But
Anyways.
yeah, I'll tell that story another time. Maybe on the 100th if you want to remember that.
Okay.
But The New Guy, there's like this like skinny guy that he like goes to a new school and he like pretends to be somebody else. And essentially that's kind of like what I did at my school. But he ends up like hooking up with this like black girl, and it's like really funny because it's like at a black fraternity or something. Like they got like the hand symbol to get in. And so I saw someone take a screenshot of them, like, you know, pillow talking from that movie. And it's like this, I'm going to tell my kids that this is Jeezy and Meg Thee Stallion.
Oh my God.
But it's kind of crazy because like, do you think they have a song coming out soon?
I mean, maybe.
Like, why would she do that?
I don't know, because then he like posted a picture.
He was going ham for her. Like, he
was
thought
going,
he had it.
Yeah, he was going hard. And I'll be honest, I've always like had a weird slimy attraction to G-Eazy, and like part of me hates that.
Mm-hmm.
But the drugs that he uses has not been as kind to his face.
Yeah.
You could start seeing it in his face right now. But like he looked like a little worm curled up around like Megan Thee Stallion is called like the stallion is like slang for being a tall, stacked like black woman.
Mm-hmm.
So like she's like about 6 foot. She's got an ass, she's got some titties, and like there's like slithery, slimy, like Slender Man G-Eazy.
Gerald
Gillum. That just made me cringe, and I'm just like, Meg, I get it, but I also don't.
So she didn't really respond until she just put out a tweet being like, all right, y'all got your jokes off, let's move on.
Yeah, like she like didn't really.
So do you think they smashed?
I think maybe.
Really?
Maybe.
I don't think they did.
I hope not.
Yeah, no.
Speaking of yikes.
Yo.
Nicki Minaj
Mm-hmm.
released a little snippet of a new song called Yikes
Ooh.
on her Instagram. Isn't that great when shit like that works out?
Right. Well, she must listen to the show.
She must. She's a big fan.
Yep.
But one line has been getting a little bit of some controversy because it said, all you bitches, all you B-word Rosa Parks, get your ass up. And so people are like, yo, once again, like on the third day of Black History Month, a day before Rosa Parks' birthday.
Ooh. Yeah. I mean, also, like, she's making it sound like Rosa Parks is like those bitches.
Yeah,
you know
like that's
what,
what. Yeah, and I feel like
I get the.
I could see where she might be going.
She's always done these puns, like, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is the way she raps. Like, Young Money is known for being like, you know, I'm gonna leave it open, door, like, you know what I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna see through you, window. I'm gonna chop you down, tree. You know, that's like the type of stuff that's how they rap.
Yeah.
So she just like went a little too far, maybe.
Potentially, some people are like, maybe is it just like, you know, this is like her like subtle plug, or are people like, is she making light of like what Rosa Parks stood for, literally, and like things like that, and so.
You said literally. Well, let's get into a little mini main topic. Mini main topic. Oh, mini. So I wrote this down, like, kind of like, you know, maybe.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah. You know, is there such thing as like self-sabotaging when it comes to dating?
Oh yeah.
You do. Oh yeah. Oh wow. Okay. But
I feel like it come in a lot of different forms. Some of the forms you have written down, I can agree with, and some. Of them
I just
kind
of through down examples so you could see where I was coming from.
Yeah.
But I thought I wanted to talk about dating self-sabotage. You know, self-sabotaging and the dating.
The way you keep
dating
saying that.
sabotaging thyself.
Okay, so I guess you start with how you see those behaviors or how you feel like there could be ways to fall into that.
Well, the thing is, all right. So I think you can
or
really
your
fall.
friend, you know.
you can really fall into two buckets here. There's a self-sabotage, but then you're like really like dancing on a fine line of playing games. I feel like you know. So because specifically what I'm thinking about, it's like texting or saying too much. Like what I'm saying. Like,
what do you consider to be too much?
Like what? Well, let's start with texting. What would you consider too much texting?
Okay, I
and
guess,
like at what point do you think like you're just like, should you just not text at all?
Oh my God!
Like
okay.
you know what I'm saying? Like it's just
okay.
And then you're just self-sabotaging.
Okay, wow. Okay, so this I feel like can be more of a case by case, and I feel like this also comes down to the fact that we are not super great as a society, as like a dating society, at communicating like needs and values and boundaries super well. So like, let's say for texting, some people really like for like their love needs or like their love languages or whatever, they need more constant contact than others. And I feel like where self-sabotaging can happen in that sense is like if you maybe potentially can come off too strong without actually just communicating like what you need, and then you're like triple double texting, which like I've never been one to be like don't triple or double text, like whatever.
But when you start getting to the fourth one, that's when you're like, that's where I'm like, this is ridiculous, like I gotta like stop or something, right?
Yeah,
right.
I feel like it comes down to like you have to figure out okay, if somebody's not responding to something, depending on what you're trying to do. Like sometimes like people are busy during the day. They're not going to respond right away. They might respond later. Maybe that's just their style. I try to respond to things when I can, and I purposely have my read receipts on so that I don't respond to something until I want to. So then people are like, oh, they left me on red. But if I want to leave you on red, I will.
But even like, you know what I'm saying? So you saw the text and maybe you just need a little time to think of your answer or like, really get your, like, what are you doing this weekend? I got to think, like, you know what I'm saying? Let me just think about it. All that stuff is like fine. Like, I think there's a healthy balance of like texting where like you text someone and it could be like a couple hours later you get a text back, like you know what I'm saying, it's not like the next day or 24 hours later. Like that's when you start feeling like it's this little like and some people have the excuse like I'm a bad texter. Like I don't
think that's a valid excuse. I feel like the bad texter
I've been actually getting really mad like lately about the like people like being like
bad. Oh my God,
no, you're just an asshole.
I'm a bad texter. My thing is like
you're just an asshole.
I feel like there's some people in this world, I'm realizing this about like maybe some friends, that like if you're not in an immediate in front of their face situation, they don't, which like I don't think that makes for like a good friend or partner in general, because I feel like you need to be able to make time or whatever for different things, even if a person's not always going to be in front of your face, because how do you have like any sort of
You're right. So like I'm saying like, oh, you're an asshole for not texting. That's not necessarily true, but I mean then you have to know that like what you're saying by not texting is a lot more than what you're not texting.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. That's what I'm saying that too, because like that just is showing that you don't care enough to either respond right away, or you don't care enough to like even say like, hey, I've been busy, I'll get back to you. My thing is like the whole like I'm a bad texter thing literally means nothing. It means that like people who like just leave their texts without answers, like especially if it's like to plan stuff, I cannot even comprehend. Like I can't comprehend. So like if people like that you're trying to date aren't responding to like questions and like, oh, I'm such a bad like texter. No, like they just don't want to deal with responding to the answers, which is like okay.
Well, yeah. So it's just a matter of like a person just realizing like, all right, like we always go back to them. They're just not that into you. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, that's just kind of how it is. Like, but at what point do you like, it's just hard because like one girl might be like that. And then you like, it's like you only have like one like game, like, and it's just like, I guess like it's not going to work for everybody. And it's like, It's just really hard.
That's why I feel like it comes down to.
So at some point you feel like you're playing a game. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, all right, how do I get this one in my trap? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Which is like not, I feel like, and that's like not the way you want to feel. And that's
Right.
why I feel like we all worry so much about playing the game, or like not texting until a certain amount of time after the first date, or doing whatever, or being like, I feel like especially women will try to like follow those things more than men, because like they don't want to be labeled as clingy or whatever, because they tend to get, dudes definitely get labeled that as well, but like I feel like women tend to get labeled that a little bit more. But I feel like not just like something you have on here is like being too honest. Like I always get told, like a lot of like dating podcasts or things that I listen to now will kind of like throw the idea of being like, okay, like show them you're crazy from the bat, like which is like, that's a very like, I don't really love like saying that as like that as the umbrella term, but like being real from the bat, like from the start, I feel like is the best way to be, instead of like trying to play a game, where then I feel like if you're playing a game that isn't like really true to like what you feel or how you usually communicate, then you're never gonna win.
What about dating too many people? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
well, at what point
I
are
mean,
you
I
like,
haven't-
I'm dating other people?
When
Like,
I got on the whatchamacallit, the live show for one of my other favorite podcasts, and like you heard about it and whatever, you got mad at me for not promoting the show.
yeah, what the hell?
I
I remember now.
Hashtag not bitter. But that was like because like my list, like I used to, like when I was dating around more, I would keep that's why like that list in my phone was started to like keep track of different guys I was going on dates with, so I could like list pros and cons, which like that's like some type A crazy shit. Like,
Yeah.
like who does that? Me.
Who?
Which that's like, yeah, that's kind of crazy talk.
Well, I mean, also, like, just because, like, you can't focus enough energy on just one
No.
person, or, like, you know,
mean-
you just kind of, like, you know,
I literally did
blasé, I guess.
Yeah,
you know?
I did like an 8-date week, which I've mentioned that plenty of times on the show when I first moved
Weird
here.
flex.
And like I literally was bouncing from one date to another.
Mm-hmm.
And like then of course that, you know, because I couldn't keep up at that pace, because that's crazy talk, that like literally from that week it went down to 2 people. So then it was like, okay, now I can focus on like figuring out which one of these 2 I like.
Yeah.
But like I feel like once it starts to get over, I don't even know. I don't know if I can like pick a number, but once it starts getting like when people, for me, I think for girls, especially because I've dealt with this with some of my friends, where it's like, oh, like, did you see whatever his name or that again? Or like, have you seen this guy? And then when it comes to the point where like she or him or whoever doesn't remember, like, no, that one's passed, or like, no, I don't even remember that guy.
Oh my God, that happened so much to me. They were like, yeah,
Yeah.
so what about, you
Like,
know,
and you're
blah,
like,
blah, blah.
yeah, literally.
And I'm like, who? They're like, God, dude, we were just talking about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. Like, it's bad. It's bad.
That's when I think it starts to get a little out of control, because it's like when it comes to a point where you
It's just weird
need
when you
to
talk
write
to-
it, when you need to write it down.
No. It's just people come into your life at different frequencies. So if you were talking about a girl like a month and a half ago, and he comes back around, he's like, yeah, so whatever happened with, like, you know, Vivian? And I'm just like, who? And I'm like, no, that was like a long time ago. So yeah, I know. I just think, like, you know, do we do it more often than not, self-sabotaging?
I feel like a lot of times people will self-sabotage when it gets to a point of a relationship or whatever, where I feel like people tend to more self-sabotage.
Oh, so you're saying there's like okay, so what I'm seeing here is that there's like purposely getting self-sabotaging and just like accidental self-sabotaging.
Well, yeah, I feel like self-sabotage is pretty much going to be purposeful most of the time. Like you, in some way, kind of know what you're doing. And I feel like a lot of that could be born out of people's like they think they either don't deserve love, or they don't deserve the kind of like attention or like whatever that they're getting from someone. They have different insecurities. And I feel like that's usually when I feel like insecurity will lead to any sort of self-sabotage. So like insecurity when somebody's not responding to you and you're like, okay, does this mean they don't like me anymore? Did I say something wrong? That's when you might like start to text too much and you'll text annoying things, or maybe you might like do a drunk text or call or something. And then other forms of self-sabotage can be like, oh, like I'm starting to feel some kind of way, and like I haven't felt this kind of way in a while, and I don't really know if I deserve to feel this kind of way about somebody, because like whatever.
What about being like, I feel this way, and like, the person might not, like, you know what I'm saying?
That's kind of what I'm saying, is like, yeah, like, I mean, so then you'll self-sabotage because you can't read somebody else's mind, and you're just like, okay, well, I would rather, instead of like actually like maybe like the quick Band-Aid pull of like if somebody does eventually reject you, like I'm gonna do like the slow Band-Aid pull of like pushing them to feeling like, maybe distrust, or I'll flip it on them, so then like I can put like I'm gonna like self-sabotage so that it's like this kind of hurt.
Do you think there's more self-sabotagers in society than not?
Ooh, I feel like maybe.
Do you think we're all just self-sabotaging ourselves?
I don't think we're all. I feel like we all have in some points. I don't think we all always do. I think it kind of depends on maybe different traumas or different points of our lives, or points of processing or healing and growing. Because I feel like some people probably can work past patterns of self-sabotage through healing and growing and understanding, like, okay, these are the patterns that I fall into because I think that I don't deserve this or that.
Let me ask about self-sabotaging to being like, because you're so selfish, like, you know what I'm saying? Like self-sabotaging because like, you're like, I just like my routines. Like, I'm not really willing to switch this up. Like, you're just like self-sabotaging because you care about yourself too much. Yeah.
I mean, there's like that.
Do you think that's a thing, or should you always care about yourself?
I think you should always care about yourself, and self-preservation is important. But I feel like the self-sabotage element of what you're talking about is then holding yourself back from a potential good addition to your life just because you've gotten used to a certain routine, and you don't want. That's like also like you're like trying to prevent yourself from any future harm, because you're like, well, things are already going pretty good for me with what I'm doing right now, but even though like this could potentially be a great addition to my life and fold it into my life, and like routines can always shift and change and like can fit around that, I'm gonna, but like if that breaks down and then I have to shift back, like that's gonna hurt me. So instead of even dealing with that, I'm just gonna cut it.
Yeah, I feel like that's where a lot of people are. They're just like too like lazy to like work for things. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like me as one of them. Like, I'm willing to put in a lot more work these days just because I have a different outlook on just life in general. But I think like back in the day, to me, it was just like pure laziness. Like, you don't want to try too much. Like, you're just like, because trying is making you vulnerable. Yeah. And you're vulnerable, like you can get hurt. Like, so it's just like. But like
that's, and like I feel like we're also afraid of that.
Settled, like.
But like that's such an important part of life. Like I feel like, anything people say about just even like, business or work or careers is like, if you like, if you don't put yourself out there to like make the mistakes or whatever, like you'll never get anywhere. And like, but I feel like with like love and relationships, we're like, like that hurts too much. Like that hurts too much. I'm not going to do it, even though like you can't always tell what good could come from it. Even if like it doesn't work out, there's always like something you get from that experience. Yeah. So that's why it definitely, I feel like self-sabotage plays into that, where it's like people will sometimes put it under the facade of self-preservation because they'll be like, well, I'm trying to protect myself. And I'm like, that's important to protect yourself, but like you can't keep yourself caged away forever and also just not move, like progress things.
So what do you think the opposite of self-sabotage is?
I feel like the opposite of self-sabotage is like kind of vulnerability and being open and honest. And also I feel like sort of like a better attempt of than self-sabotaging, which self-sabotaging feels like you're creating boundaries, but I don't think you really are. You're usually just creating walls. I feel like the better solution is to create boundaries or express what those are. If there's like certain things like hey, I need this amount of communication or whatever, and things like that. So I feel like that's probably the step in the right direction instead of self-sabotage. But yeah, I would say vulnerability is probably the opposite.
Well, I'm going to do a count after this episode, see how many times you said self-sabotage, and make it a drinking game.
How many times you said self-sabotage too? What do you mean?
Well, I said what?
Okay.
I was going to make you say it again. That was a good mini main topic. Why don't we talk about Bachelor?
This 3-hour tour.
That was I was actually surprised that it was 3 hours because like there's literally episode playing in like a half an hour.
Yeah, from when we're recording tonight.
Yeah, we might actually be able to start it up, but but yeah, no, I got a recording, no worries. But yeah, no,
Same.
When it comes to, we didn't do the live watch this week because I was just like super tired and got back from the trip.
And
so.
I didn't do anything productive this weekend, so
whatever. I bet you there's some people on there that are like, damn, like that's how I watched The Bachelor.
Yeah, but the tipsy talks are up, so
watch that.
Yeah.
So this week, I kind of missed a little bit of the beginning, but that was like when my girl Leia just got sent home again.
Yeah.
Which was bullshit.
I kind of think it was bullshit, especially because Peter tried to play like he was the martyr for her, being like, I'm saving you from dealing with this, like, and then she like kind of agreed with him, and I was like, okay, Leia, just fold at that, that's fine.
Right.
And then he walks back in and pretty much like says like, how Leia wasn't the girl for him, and I was like, bitch, you two-faced motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah, Peter didn't impress me this episode at all.
No.
And he got his karma too, so.
I know, and he went around and he, individually apologized to all of the girls, which just felt really fake to me because he was just like, saying the same shit to each one of them, being like, I'm just so happy that you're here and I would never want to make you feel like this was a slap in the face. But saying that to every single one of them, and like, I'm like, okay, like, where are your feelings? Who's to say?
Yeah.
Like, don't act, I don't, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they finally get to leave Cleveland to go to Costa Rica. Good for them.
I'll be going there in a couple weeks.
Yeah, you will.
Mm-hmm. Actually, got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Costa Rica pod. That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Any hoozles. So the first one-on-one was with Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
So, he immediately rewards Sydney. And then Sydney, like, it was just a very, like, it was like kind of like a ass-kissing kind of one-on-one where he was talking about how she's like the best kisser and he's always been so into her because she's so mysterious, and so she brings up how she's mixed, and then he tries to speak Spanish to her and she pretends like she understands, but she definitely doesn't. And then she does her sob story about how she was bullied for living in the South and being mixed, which the internet came through with the scalding hot tea because first of all, she was not unpopular. She said she sat, like, for her senior... She didn't go to proms or homecomings, and she sat, like, and ate her lunch in the bathroom all of her senior year, like Mean Girls. Lies. Lies.
Right.
Because she was,
you might have watched that on a movie or a DVD.
Yeah.
Bitch.
But she did this whole thing where she did pageants. She went to the same high school as Hannah Brown, and there's rumors floating around that she supposedly bullied the hell out of Hannah Brown.
Ooh.
Not sure about that. Like some extreme rumors were saying that Hannah Brown had to get a restraining order against her. Unsure.
Whoa!
So,
wow, you are spilling the tea right now.
Yeah.
Now we're potting. All right.
But she like won pageants. It was like top
but
sweetheart.
that don't matter because she's the best kisser.
Yeah. See, that's all Peter cares about,
dude.
Yeah, he was like, I really love her heart, and then it pans to them like making out on a rock. I'm like, yeah. And him like grabbing her ass. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely where her heart is, Peter.
It's shaped like a heart. That was fun. Well, let's talk about the group date.
So group date was a photo shoot with Cosmo.
Mm-hmm.
In general, it was chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
It was chaotic energy because it's a bunch of girls in bathing suits trying to impress Peter, and they're all like trying to grab his face and kiss him as they're like in group shots and whatever, because
and the other girls are watching from like a high point vantage,
and some of them are watching like while in the picture.
Yeah.
And then so everyone pegged like, oh, Hannah Ann will win this because she's a model, and the internet is great.
Well, it's funny how it's always again like between Hannah Ann and Victoria.
And Victoria F.
Yeah.
And Victoria F wins it because I guess she, you know, sucked
She
his
looks
face
good.
enough.
She looks good.
And
It's crazy that she like came out of nowhere. Like
Yeah.
she didn't really stand out on the first night, and like
No.
it's like now she's like,
that's how they do it.
whew.
That's how they do it.
Okay.
But so she won. So she was supposed to. Her and Peter were supposed to be getting the cover. So it would probably be the reverse cover because it would never be the front cover. The reverse cover and like main focus in the spread for the March issue of Cosmo. But because of that campaign that she was in for White Lives Matter, which supposedly was a whole organization. It had White Lives and Blue Lives Matter, and it was supposed to be protecting white and blue marlin fish, which, like, if you're using that as a pun, you obviously support White Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, which is all then like a pun and a disrespectful play on Black Lives Matter. So it's all racist in general, so like not a good look.
Yikes.
But they pulled it, like, and Cosmo put out a note saying like, hey, they're not getting the cover and whatever because, like, of what we have found about Victoria F being in this thing. Even if it was for fish, like, it still is, like, capitalizing on a racist, like, hashtag, et cetera, et cetera. So, she did not get her just desserts for that one.
Damn.
But then the beginning of the Tammy and Kelsey beef, because Kelly goes on, gets the next one-on-one. And Kelsey, like, as much as I probably would do if I was in the house, I'd be drinking a shit ton of wine. And she's an emotional person. I'm all about a good public cry here and there. Also, what's public? You're in the mansion. There's a whole bunch of women. Hormones are probably raging. I wouldn't, put it past any of them. But she's been, she cries and sobs, and she kind of becomes unhinged because she didn't get the one-on-one. And, she really needs her time. I hate all these girls saying how much they need their time. But Tammy takes it upon herself. And Tammy was a fave of mine. And this pissed me off. Tammy takes it upon herself to make it an issue and to insert herself and to, like, insert it as something that she needs to tell Peter. I just don't understand why these girls don't understand.
Well, this I think
that's
goes
not
back
smart.
to like the bullying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kicking someone where they're down. Like, yeah, she's being ridiculous and saying things like, she's just like, I can't handle this. It's like, well, this is like the process you signed up for. And it's like, I don't know what's happening in the house. She might be getting like popularity for like, being so like, not caring about her and just saying it to her face and stuff and getting laughs from maybe other girls or whatever about it because it looks a little ridiculous. It definitely probably does. And it's very annoying, like in a house that you live in. But, she took it a step further where like she was starting to talk about like her drinking and like
trying to call her an alcoholic or that she or
alluded to like taking pills and stuff.
Then which was something Victoria P supposedly spread. This is the thing. Peter let Victoria P get off with like her being caught in her lies. And then I think Victoria P is a little pot stirrer and everything else. Like she'll be the one who like inserts some of these rumors or things to some other people and then like walks away being like, what are you saying? What do you mean? Yeah. And like, so whatever, that became a whole thing. All whilst Kelly and Peter are on their very lackluster one-on-one date doing some weird shaman exercises.
Well, this is kind of where like Peter actually came off creepy to me, like then when at the end of it, like he was like so weirdly stern. First of all, we talk about the scar on his head at all?
Oh no,
that was like karma for sending Alea home.
I'll tell you what. He tried to play it off like he got scratched by a puma, and nobody believed that because if a puma attacked him,
I
he
had
would
to
be
do
dead.
what I had to do. Yeah,
he would be dead. Because he's scrawny. But he was getting into a golf cart, bumped his head on the while holding like a champagne glass or something. Bumped his head on the golf cart and like
smacked his head against the glass. But that's crazy because like that's horrible. Like when you're the Bachelor, that's gonna be
stitches.
That's gonna be the rest of the show. Like what I'm saying,
21 stitches isn't anything. It's
not like a zit. Like what I'm saying, like
yeah.
that's a scratch on your head, and now you're the Bachelor, and like we still have like more than half a season to go. So what an idiot.
Yeah, that's not just like a paintball coming through the bottom of your mask.
Exactly. Like that went away in a couple days, but this was like for the rest of the season, he has this dumbass bandage on his head. But besides that, so he's like doing this at dinner with Kelly, and he's like, I need you to trust the process. Like, I need you. It's like, whoa. Like, she's not
sounds culty.
Yeah, it does sound culty. Not like
Sounds like what sorority girls tell people rushing,
right?
Which is also culty.
I just thought it was really weird, and she's just like, having to go along with it and stuff.
Also,
and
like,
I really thought he was not going to give her the rose too, and she like kind of got excited.
I know. She was like, okay, well.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be more to it tonight's episode. But yeah, that was really weird. I didn't really like that.
Yeah, and also
gave me a weird thing about Peter.
Especially the whole trust the process vibes. Statistically, only I think 5 bachelor couples have stayed together out of 24 seasons.
Right.
So.
What process?
Why would we trust it?
That's like the culty part of it.
Yeah, why would we trust this process? It hasn't really proven that's successful.
Peter's been chugging the Kool-Aid.
He is. He's full on chugging the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and he's trying to give the Kool-Aid to Kelly, but Kelly's too cool for the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, no, Kelly is, I feel he's he got mean at her. He's like, well, I don't want you to, I'm not here to just have fun. And she's like, okay, we're going on dates. What am I supposed to be like? I'm here for a bad time.
Yeah.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time, I'm guessing.
Well, what else? Did anything else really happen in the show?
So, end of the episode had a second roast ceremony.
She wore shitty pants. That's hilarious.
Yeah, she did. Okay, the pants that Kelly wore on that date were atrocious. Okay. They looked like, I don't even know.
Well, I guess we'll have to catch up on some more stuff next week. We'll have double the Bachelor stuff to get through, but we'll try to condense it. We'll talk about a little bit of maybe what our thoughts were from last week's episode on the Facebook live watch this week, So if you want to kind of get in between, make sure you're watching the live watch, which we will do this week on Monday. So,
amen, brother.
We're back. So let's get into our slapper of the week. I actually heard this song over at PG's 2 weeks ago when we were partying over there. I think it's from 2018, so it's about 2 years old, maybe a year and a half.
But I hadn't heard of it.
I hadn't heard of it too when I heard it, so I was like,
but it sounds like I should have heard.
It's so good. I've been bumping it over and over again. So let's not really talk about it too much. There's not much to talk about here. It's called "Busted Open" by Cool Company. And without further ado, let's play it.
Slapper of the week. This song slaps.
Slapper. Yeah, that's our slapper of the week, Busted Open by Cool Company. That's a vibe, that's for sure. I listen to that over and over again. So bring that into your weekend if you want to have some vibes.
Indeed, vibes indeed.
You got any shout outs?
I do have some shout outs.
What do we got?
I wanted to shout out my friends Christine and Natalie, the Thirst Traps. We finally got to have our little recap of the new Sabrina episode. A new season, and that was great. I want to shout out my friend Riley DeLeon because he's doing this whole year of, much like you've shooting his shots, and also no expectations, and I'm proud of him.
Boom.
And then I wanted to shout out my friend Naif because he's been having a lot of big job interviews this week, and I want to wish him luck. And then I wanted to shout out a couple of birthdays for my friends Morgan and David that are this upcoming weekend.
That's what's up. Happy birthday. I just saw DP the other day in the office. That was
DP,
cool.
eh?
He did a little fist bump.
Orlando.
Yeah, remember?
You're right.
Yeah. I mean, when he came to Atlanta, I took his job in Orlando, and then I came up to Atlanta, and now we're both here. So, all right. Well, I wanted to shout out my sister Pamela.
Yeah, she got to have a mom's night out situation with the wedding.
Yeah. It's just been a while since I've been able to hang out with Pama. Like that because she had just gone through the whole pregnancy and the whole premature birth and everything, and I just really missed her. It's just crazy as we get older, just things change, and I even when they got married or they had a baby, all these different things, it's just whoa, it's just crazy. I never get to have my sister and me used to party all the time. Actually, she used to party so hard. So it was really nice to be able to party with her this weekend. And, that was my buddy. I love her. So shout out to you, Pama. And then I just wanted to shout out my homie, John Paul. It's his birthday this weekend. And we're going to be partying for you, bro. Love you guys. We inching ever so close. Next week will be episode 99 of the podcast. And could you believe that we actually made it? Veronica, think about it.
Let's knock on wood. What if something awful happens to us? What if something awful happens?
That'd be amazing. Because that would be legendary. That would be that's legend stuff. So you never know when you're gonna go, so just embrace every day. But we got episode 100 in motion. We got some people coming through and stuff, so it'll become full of surprises.
Full surprises.
Yep.
Full surprises.
Full of surprises. You never know who's gonna pop by or what conversations are gonna pop up. I'm getting really excited. You about it? You're getting really excited about it? Yeah.
I'm a little nervous, I'll be honest.
Why?
I don't know.
We've done 100 of these.
I know. I feel like
Technically, next week is our 100th episode, and technically, we've already done over 100 of these with the Vault.
Okay. Okay.
I
get it. But
so
it's the triple digit episode.
Yeah.
We'll finally.
It is monumental.
Turn it over from having that 0 in front.
Yeah. She always wondered why. I love
how you say always wondered. You literally told me when we started exactly. I was never once like,
Yeah, you did.
Why do we do this?
Yeah, you did. You were like, this is dumb. Why do we have 2 zeros in front of the number?
Wondering.
Yes, and you were like, why are we doing that? And I told you because we're gonna make it to episode 100
originally. But
yes,
I just said, and then
you always wonder, and I was just like, yo, how do you forget that first time I told you, when you wondered? And I was like, stop wondering because we're gonna get to episode 100 one day. You didn't believe it, and I always did.
Bullshit.
So this is really a celebration of
convincing me. I guess
convincing you that we can make it century episodes. So
centurion episode.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good song to start with, maybe. But yeah. So guys.
Centuries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we had a lot of fun this week. We'll catch you next week, and we'll have a lot of Bachelor to talk about, and don't self-sabotage out there.
Yeah.
Stay
woke.
Yeah. We'll see you next week. All right, guys. My name is Sai.
My name's Veronica.
And this has been Future
Wait,
Bachelor.
I messed that up.
Hold on. Wait, how have we done 100 of these?
Because
all right, guys.
I was not prepared.
Whatever.
Okay.
This has been Future Bachelor. My name is Sai.
I'm Veronica.
And maybe we won't see you next week. I don't know. Deuces!
Future Bachelor Podcast.